All right, average value of a function. How do we calculate average? Well, in general, you should know that if you want to find average, you just add up how many things you want to average and divide by the number of things that you added up. But what do we do if we have a situation like this where we wanted to find the average temperature for a day? There's infinitely many temperature readings that we could measure throughout that 24 hours. How do we get that average? Well, when you start dealing with an infinite amount of things, the idea is the same, but in order to sum up those infinitely many things, we want to do an integral. So an integral will find the value here. This will find the value of an infinitely many like temperature readings, for example. But to find the average, then we want to divide by the number of things. So to divide by the number of things, we take our two limits, our starting and ending amount, and subtract them. And then if we divide by that amount, that would give us the average value. So you can either think of it like it's written here, or you could think of it as the integral here from a to b, all divided by the difference of those two. So either one of these are saying the same thing. Dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, which this one is. All right, so let's try one of these out and see if we can find the average value. Find the average value of this function f of x equals 1 plus x squared on the interval from -1 to 2. All right, so this graph, if we graphed it out from -1 to 2, we're going to see that at some line. If we want to find the average value of that, we want to divide by the distance from -1 to 2, which would be this total distance here is 3. So we're going to end up dividing by 3 as we do this. But let's set it up with that equation then. So we want to do the integral for our average value here from -1 to 2. And we want to integrate over this function 1 plus x squared. But in order to get the average, we need to now divide this by the difference. So you can either write it as divided by the difference, which if we minus a negative here, that's going to end up being 3 like we talked about before. Or you can multiply it out in front as a constant, which works too. So you can put it as 1 over 2 minus -1. Either one's going to give us the same thing. We'll just roll with this since we got it written up on the board. So 2 minus a -1, double slash that, that's 3. So we want to divide this by 3 when we're done. Let's go through and find that antiderivative, which would be x plus, we got to do our little power rule here, x to the third. We went up a power, we got to put the reciprocal in front, and then we want to evaluate that at both 2 and -1. Now plug in those numbers and we should get our result here. So we're doing 2 plus 2 to the third power is going to be 8. 8 times 1/3 is 8/3 if we put 2 in there. Minus what we get now when we put in -1. So we got -1 plus -1 cubed is going to be -1 times -1 times -1. Would end up being -1 times 1/3 would be -1/3. All right, so now to finish that, we got to figure out what this is going to equal and then times by 1/3 or divide by 3. In order to add these, we want common denominators. So 2 is the same as 6/3 plus 8/3. This minus sign is going to need to get distributed here. So this is going to turn into +1, or I'm going to change that to a common denominator, 3/3. And then we're going to have minus another negative, so plus 1/3. Now we just have to go through this here, add these up, and we got it. So 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 3 is 17, plus 1 is 18. Looks like we get 18/3. And 18/3 is just the same as 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 1/3 of 6 is going to be 2. So the average value of this one is 2. Across that graph, the average would be 2. All right, once you pause the video, try this one out on your own, see what you get. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to try here. You should have set it up as average here is going to equal 1 over 5 minus negative 2. We want to integrate from negative 2 to 5 of our function here. That's going to end up being 1 over 7 here. So basically we got to divide by 7 because that's the distance from here to here. If you wanted, this is also a constant. We could pull that out as well. So if you want to pull the 8 out, you didn't have to. It should come out the same either way. I'm going to in this case. So then figuring this out, this would be x to the 4th with our reciprocal of 1/4 there. And we want to integrate that from 5 to negative 2. Combining all these together now, 1/4 of 8 is 2, so this will be 2/7. And now plugging in what we got 5 to the 4th power minus negative 2 to the 4th power. And going through and doing that should lead us to our answer. So we got 5 to the 4th would be 625. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 would be 16. Now going a little bit further here, if we subtract that, that's going to be 609. And if we times that by 2/7, we should get it. I think if you do multiply this by 2/7, and this probably would be something with calculator here, or else you'd have to do, if it was no calculator, you'd have to go through and do it longhand, but this does come out to equal 174. So that would be the average value. If you got that, nice job.